Summer nights can be beautiful. Warm winds, quiet skies, fireflies flickering in the dark. But for one suburban family in Ohio, last summer turned into a waking nightmare. It began with a girl sleepwalking and ended with something far more sinister. This is the true story of the Summer Sleepwalker. June 2021. A quiet neighborhood in Bellbrook, Ohio. The Wilson family had just moved into a modest, two-story house on the edge of the woods. With school out for the summer, 14-year-old Emily was spending her nights watching horror movies and texting her friends. She had never sleepwalked before. Not once. But on June 18th, that changed. Cut to a home security cam clip. A girl in pajamas slowly opens the back door at 2:17 a.m. and walks barefoot into the woods. The next morning, her parents found her standing in the backyard. Eyes open, but unresponsive. They brought her inside, gave her water. She remembered nothing. They chalked it up to stress. But it happened again, and again. By the end of the week, Emily had sleepwalked 5 times. Each time, always between 2 o'clock and 2:30 a.m. Each time, always heading toward the woods. Mother, voice actor. I started locking the doors. She'd still end up outside. Once, I found her standing knee-deep in the creek. Just staring. Like she was listening to something I couldn't hear. Her father installed cameras, motion-triggered infrared, to monitor her movement. The footage showed something disturbing. Camera footage. Emily walks out the back door, stops at the tree line, pauses, then nods her head, as if responding to someone unseen, then walks into the woods. Studio microphone. She wasn't just sleepwalking. She was meeting someone. Or something. July 3rd. Her father follows her with a camera, staying far behind, hidden in the trees. She walks deeper in. Emily turns around, eyes wide open, and says in a voice that isn't hers. Emily, distorted voice. He doesn't want you here. Studio microphone. The father ran. When he checked the footage later, the audio was scrambled. Garbled static, whispers, and a growl. The family brought in a sleep specialist, priest, even paranormal investigators. They found claw marks inside the hollow tree, old, rusted toys, and bones, small animal bones, carefully arranged in a spiral. Whatever she was meeting, it didn't want to hurt her. Not yet. It was grooming her, calling her like a familiar. Studio microphone. On July 10th, Emily vanished, disappeared from her locked room. She was found 3 hours later, curled at the base of the same tree, unconscious, covered in dirt and blood. She never spoke about what happened that night. She hasn't sleepwalked since. The Wilsons moved away before the end of the summer. They refused interviews. The house remains empty. Neighbors say they still see a figure, barefoot in pajamas, wandering near the woods. And if you listen close on certain summer nights, you might hear a voice from the trees saying, "He's still waiting." Studio microphone. If you've ever sleepwalked, are you sure you were alone? Or were you being led? Studio microphone. Some roads lead nowhere, and some take you somewhere you were never meant to go. This is the story of a driver who picked up a passenger late one summer night on a road that locals avoid after dark, a road known as Route 17. She asked for a ride. He gave her one, but she never really left the car. Studio microphone. August 12, 2022, 10:43 p.m. Jay Carter, 34, a part-time rideshare driver, was heading back home after his last drop-off in southern Alabama. The highway was empty. Heat lightning flickered in the distance. He received one final ride request. A pickup from an old farmhouse. No photo, just the name Sarah. Studio microphone. He arrived at the pickup point, a rundown house with peeling paint and boarded windows. He hesitated, but then she appeared. A woman in a long, pale blue dress. She walked slowly to the car, never breaking eye contact. Studio microphone. Jay described her as cold. Literally cold. The air in the back seat dropped the moment she sat down. She didn't say much, Only Route 17. North. Studio microphone. He drove in silence for several minutes. Then his phone glitched, GPS signal lost. The music began to distort. Then Sarah spoke again. Do you believe in ghosts? Studio microphone. Jay laughed. But when he looked in the rearview mirror, she wasn't smiling. She was staring out the window, lips barely moving. They never really leave you. Not if you see them. Studio microphone. Suddenly, fog. Thick, unnatural fog swallowed the road. Jay slowed down, looked again in the mirror. She was gone. Just an empty seat. No sound. No door opening. No goodbye. Studio microphone. He pulled over in a panic. Got out. No sign of her. The back seat was wet, like someone had been sitting in a soaked dress. Studio microphone. He returned home shaken. 3 days later, he searched her name. Sarah Ellis. She died in 2013, hit by a truck on Route 17 while walking home, wearing a blue dress. Every year around the same date, locals report seeing a woman flagging down cars. Always alone. Always cold. Jay never drove Route 17 again. He deleted the rideshare app, moved out of Alabama. But sometimes, late at night, he swears he sees her face in his rearview mirror, smiling, waiting. Studio microphone. Be careful who you pick up. Not every passenger is alive. And some never reach their destination. Every summer, they gather at Amber Ridge, a high cliff deep in West Virginia's backwoods. They come for the meteor showers. But one night in 2017, something else came. Something that changed 5 friends forever and took one of them without a sound. This is the true story of the lights above Amber Ridge. Amber Ridge is a hidden spot, popular with locals who know where to look. On August 10, 2017, 5 teenagers drove up around midnight with snacks, blankets, and a telescope. The sky was clear. The mood was light. But things changed when the stars began to disappear. At 1:14 a.m., the first light appeared. Not a shooting star. Not a plane. A perfectly still orb, glowing white, silently hanging over the ridge. Then, another, and another. 5 total, forming a circle in the sky. Friend voiceover, recreated. Everything went quiet, like the crickets stopped. The air felt electric. My phone just died. They began filming, but the footage is corrupted. One of them, Tyler, began walking toward the edge, saying he could hear something. The others tried to stop him. Then a flash, bright white, instantly blinding. When they looked again, Tyler was gone. They searched all night, called his name, shouted into the trees. But there was no sound, no response. Only silence. And the lights, gone. The next morning, rescue teams found nothing. No signs of struggle. But time was wrong. All 4 friends had phones that said 3:12 a.m., but the police radio said 5:47. They lost 2.5 hours, and none of them remember what happened during it. Over the following weeks, all 4 teens reported the same nightmares. Floating above the trees, a cold voice speaking inside their heads, Tyler reaching out from a beam of light, and then vanishing. One agreed to hypnosis, and what she said chilled everyone present.
Die Stock Whisper Calip.
He's not gone. He's with them now. Amber Ridge is still there. Locals say if you stand on the cliff just before 1:00 a.m., you might see those 5 lights form again. But whatever you do, don't listen if someone calls your name from the dark. Because it might not be someone, it might be them. Tyler McConnell has never been found. His case remains open. But if you ever lose time under a summer sky, check the stars. One of them might be watching back. Subscribe to Deadly Echo and never miss what's hiding in the night sky.